Hey everyone, it's Josh Vision, and I'm here to bring to you my Vikings Season 4B Episode 18 review. The episode was entitled Revenge. So we begin this episode with Lagatha, Torvi, and Astrid in the Great Hall. And Lagatha is mentioning that this is the largest army that that has ever been assembled, ever. And that due to that, there has to be a sacrifice. Because if they don't win this, due to the large amount of manpower that they have, this could most likely end up being, I believe, like this said, the end of their race. So she mentions who should be sacrificed. Or I believe Astrid mentions that. So after that, we have this quick little scene with Ubba and Ivar. And Ivar says to Ubba that maybe he should lead the army. It was like, what? Because before Ivar mentions this, I have to remember that Ubba mentions the fact that Bjorn wants to be leader or something like that. But he doesn't believe that there should be a leader. He believes there should be leaders or best case scenario, no leaders at all. Because at the end of the day, the end result is getting vengeance for their father. But Ivar mentions, going back to Ivar, suggests that he should be the leader, that he's been to England. He knows what the countryside is like. He knows the language. He knows the customs. And that's most likely the reason why his father brought him there, to be the one to be the leader, And after that, we have this scene with Ube pretty much in the town, and he sees Vikserk and Margaret. And I believe Margaret pretty much post-sex. Post-sex, maybe they just kiss each other goodbye. Who knows? But it's obvious that Vikserk is feeling some type of way about Margaret. And pretty much, it seems like Ube's not liking this one bit. Ube tells Vikserk that Ivar suggests that he should be the leader of the army. And Vikserk's like, no, that's crazy. Bjorn should be the leader of the army. And Ubba agrees with him. And Ubba mentions, so what did you tell Margaret? And Vikserk's all like, I told her that I really care for her. And that I mean it. And then Vikserk's on his way. And once again, the expression on Ubbe's face, you can tell he's not liking this one bit. So, I believe the next scene is King Harald and his brother Halfdan. And we finally see the love of King Finehair's life. And I believe it's Princess Elisive. And at first, I believe that me and many other Viking fans assumed that the princess that King Finehair was talking about, or referencing to, in Season 4A, was Queen Aslog herself. But it turns out that was completely wrong. Either way, King Finehair is definitely nervous seeing her. Then again, how can you blame him? It's been at least a few decades since he's seen her. It's the love of his life. And when she sees him, when they actually make eye contact, you can tell she's kind of, I would say, at first, I really didn't know how to interpret it at first. I thought maybe she kind of found him like sort of like, oh damn, you're alive, like irrelevant. Then again, it looked like it was a little bit of fear, but we'll discuss that later in this review. So, pretty much, we have, I believe, a sacrifice that occurs. And Lagatha's ahead of it, obviously. And we see that the person she's sacrificing is the guy who was kind of friendly with her. It seemed like she was kind of feeling him as well. And I believe during this whole sacrifice thing was very interesting was the fact that it was very intimate. She just ripped the dude's clothes off during it as she plunged his sword into, like, the sword that he gave her last week directly into his stomach and out. It was like not really out. It just stuck in there. And I don't know, it just seemed like they were both kind of turned them on to a certain extent. It seemed very sexual, in my opinion. Um, and while this is going on, I believe there's a comet that shows up in the sky, and Bjorn and Astrid make eye contact. And while this whole sacrifice thing is going on, they're just clanging and banging somewhere. Bjorn giving it to her doggy style. And during the end of the sacrifice, which should be noted, the guy who sacrificed him, who offered him off a sacrifice, he didn't cry or any type of thing like that. So that means he's going to go to Valhalla because he didn't want to cry. But after this, Lagertha and Torvi both noticed that Bjorn and Astrid were absent. So after this, I believe we have the marriage of Ube and Vikserk. And during the marriage, it seems as though, I believe, Ivar's there, Torvi's there. It seems like Torvi and Ivar are back on good terms, considering she's kind of over Ivar during the whole celebration. Like, she's near his chair or whatever. I believe the priest, the lady that was in charge, of the whole wedding, she asks, is anyone willing to give up Margaret? And Vikserk's the one that shows up. And Vikserk and Margaret kind of stare at each other a little bit too long, especially in Ube's case. And once again, Ube's looking at Vikserk like, really? Really? Vikserk? Eventually, Vikserk backs away. So after the marriage, Vikserk and Ube do this crazy type of shit in which, like, the loser has to serve dinner or pour the drink, whatever. So they're doing like this little obstacle course where they're running, they're jumping over shit, and they have to drink like after every like test or something. And the boys are shoving each other, push each other, and you could tell it's much more than fun game. It's kind of like in a way they're kind of letting out their aggression in regards to the other's feelings towards Margaret. So basically, Vikserk loses but barely. Ube beats him barely. And after that, there's a feast. And Ivar and Sigurd is giving Vikserk a hard-ass time. And once again, Vikserk and Margaret are really starting to, you can tell there's something there. And once again, Ube's not feeling it. So after that, we have this scene in which Ube, once again, with Margaret, look each other's eyes and shit, and Ube's not feeling this. But Margaret says that, how can you guys not be jealous? Because it's obvious you guys both have feelings for me, love me, something along the lines. And I believe Ube said we're Vikings. So Margaret's like, okay, let's put this shit to the test. So she kisses Ube and then looks at Vikserk. Then she kisses Vikserk and then looks at Ube. Then she decides, well, it is my wedding night. And she strips down. And Ube and Vikserk look at each other, give each other a nod. And threesome city. Pretty much. They are definitely Ragnar's sons. They all love them threesomes. So, after that, I believe we have a scene between the brothers in which in which Bjorn is pretty much laying down the law. Bjorn is like, listen, we are all Ragnar's sons, therefore we're equal in that regard, but we're not equal in battle. And Ivar, with his smile, it just kind of listens to Bjorn like, all right, okay, sure, whatever floats your boat. And Bjorn notices this. Bjorn's like, Ivar, you think you know so much because of your young age, but what battles have you won? What battles have you lost? And right there, Ivar's expression turned to like annoyance and straight up anger, because he literally spits in the basin after Bjorn says that. And Bjorn goes on to say, listen, only through failure, my brothers, do we truly learn. But let's not get it twisted. I'm in charge of the battle plans, and I'm in charge of the army. Me. Not you, not you. I'm the leader, and you must obey me. And when he said obey me, he was looking directly in Ivar's direction. And Ivar, once again, was smiling. In a way that kind of reminds me of Ragnar Season 1 in regards to Rollo. Whenever Rollo really started to get, over emotional, really aggressive, Ragnar would usually smile In a way, kind of like, oh, this idiot. This idiot keeps on going on and on and on and shit. Just get to the point. I believe Bjorn ends the scene with saying, if you guys follow those directions, once again, he puts his gaze on Ivar, then we shall avenge our father. So, after that, I think we had a scene in which Lagertha is in bed, and Astrid clearly had another night of passionate lovemaking with Bjorn, and Astrid tried to sneak in, and Lagertha's like, I hope it was good, and I hoped it was worth it. So clearly Lagertha knows at this point, about Astrid and Bjorn. So, which leads to a question, is that going to cause some type of conflict, in the future? I know some people will be like, nah, it's not going to cause a conflict. That Lagertha doesn't care for Astrid in that way. I don't know. But I feel as though conflict is going to come. It's maybe not, I think the Astrid is going to be a little minor detail of it. I just feel as though, once again, I think Lagertha, with her taking the throne without letting Bjorn know what she was going to do, the fact that Bjorn wants to be king, he feels it's his birthright, I think at some point that is going to come to play. Especially with riding our sons after her. So I believe Bjorn's going to play a key role eventually in Lagertha's downfall. But it's you know what I mean? I think a deal might be made between King Finehair, Ivar, and the brothers, and maybe Bjorn. But who knows at this point? Everything's kind of up in the air, because this show is definitely not predictable. They'll give you something completely left way, whatever. But after this scene, we see King Finehair in Halfton. King Finehair is able to finally get Princess Elisa's attention, and he mentions the fact that he's accomplished so much. He's a king. He's taking down Earl after Earl, king after king, and that he feels though he's ready, to finally, or he's accomplished enough to finally be the husband that that she wanted him to be, with his accomplishments and all that shit. Turns out Princess Elisa married an earl. And King Finehair, which is very interesting, which I found really powerful and very sad. He said, all the things I've done in my life, I done for you. You said you wouldn't marry me unless I became a king or someone of great importance. And now I become this, and you marry a nobody? And at this point, Halfton gives him the knife, and King Finehair is really considering killing her. And Prince Elisa is really like, please don't kill me. Please. I'm sorry for bullshitting you. Who believes that shit? Come on now. She ain't sorry. She clearly is afraid of this dude. She probably did that just to get him off her back, considering that he was going to die in his pursuits. Well, nah. That wasn't the case, girly. So, King Finehair lets her go. And she tells the Earl. And the Earl looks at King Finehair. And then when I see that, I'll say to myself, well, that guy ain't going to live any much longer. King Finehair is vicious. And I think this is the girl for him. And I think eventually, because I do believe he's going to become king, it's just a matter of who's going to help him become king. Because the boys did mention that they needed someone to rule Kattegat while they're away exploring and adventuring the world and shit. And Finehair in history became a king. So, like his days are numbered, but like I said before, it's a matter of when. And I don't know though if he's gonna let her live. He might let her live because he's obsessed with her. So what else? So after that, we have the scene in which Bjorn is pretty much saying goodbye to Lagertha, Torvi, and Astrid in the Great Hall. Now when Bjorn says goodbye to Astrid, you can tell they're trying to not be overly emotional. It's obvious at this point that they truly do care for each other. And Bjorn says to Torvi, goodbye, the mother of my children. And when he says that, I'm saying, well, that's the writing on the fucking wall. That's just over. This relationship is essentially done. Bjorn has no feelings towards Torvi at all. And he says goodbye, to Lagertha. So the boys at this point, they are on their way to Northumbria, revenge on fat ass King Aelle. So King Aelle is in a chapel, I believe. Excuse me. He's in a chapel in his castle, and one of the soldiers pretty much mentions to King Aelle that the great heathen army is here, and Aelle's kind of surprised by this, and he says, "Listen, Christ come before the pagans," so he gets his little bread, whatever, body of Christ celebration and whatnot. So he prepares for battle, and he thinks he got everything in the bag. He thinks there's no way he can lose to the great heathen army. And once again, King Aelle's on his Kanye shit, cocky as fuck. So when he gets to the field, he sees a small army, and I believe his bishop's with him. And he's like, okay, that's all they got. And then he sees another one. He's like, a little bit better, but that's all they got. And then when you see Floki bring his side of the army, that's when the rock music starts. Then you know that's when shit's about to go down. And King Aelle's expression is priceless. It's fucking priceless. And then when you see King Finehair's section of the army, and then you see Ivar in his fucking chair like a badass, just skin up to the line with a little bit of a mask on his mouth and shit. And then he takes out the axe, staring directly at King Aelle. And then you see Bjorn, Sigurd, Ube, and Vikser side by side with Ivar. And the look on Bjorn's face, you're like, I'm fucked. Matter of fact, that's what King Aelle say. I believe the bishop says, let God help us. And King Aelle's like, I don't think he can. And then we see the army just go straight at King Aelle's army. Next thing you know, we thought we were gonna get a battle sequence, but that wasn't the case. Pretty much, we see King Aelle pretty much defeated, being the fuck up, bloody shit, pretty much being dragged by Ivar's chariot horse around the area where Ragnar died, deep in those rainy woods. So before I get to the King Aelle death scene, Blake or whatever, I want to sort of address what happened in Wessex. So in Wessex, we have Aethelwulf finally confronts his father. He says to Judith, listen. Well, he says to first both Judith and Ecbert, listen, the Northmen have arrived. So, I would like to speak with my father. And he says to Judith, I know that we're married, but clearly we're not married in the sense that you're fucking my dad. So I just would like for you, I'm asking you to leave. And then she looks at Ecbert, and then he gives her her leave, whatever. And, they touch hands and shit. And I'm just saying to myself, you know what? Despite Judith, being a good character, I'm just saying to myself, damn, I feel so bad for Aethelwulf because, he's not a bad character. I mean, he's not a bad person, in this series at all. I just feel as though Judith's, just treat him like shit. I mean, Aethelwulf's like her father. Now, her father's a piece of shit. Anyways, we get the conversation, which I've been waiting for, with Aethelwulf calling his father on this shit. He says to his father, all my life you manipulated me and used me for your own ends. And at this point, Ecbert doesn't know what to say. His best comeback's like, well, you know why I did that, son? Because you're the only one I trust to lead this army to protect us. And then Ecbert's like, it was like, and? You never once said you loved me once. He was able to articulate your love for Alfred, for fucking Judith, Athelstan, even Ragnar Lothbrok. But do you love me, father? And Ecbert's silent. He's fucking silent. It's like he doesn't know what to say. It's like, he wasn't expecting this shit from his son. It's like, in a way, he's ashamed of his treatment of his son, and also ashamed of the fact that he can't come up, despite his wittiness and his intelligence, to really give a concrete, legit answer. He was taken aback. He was caught off guard, which is a rarity in the great King Ecbert's life. So, yeah. I'm going to do a video later on about the whole Aethelwulf confrontation with his father, probably later today. So anyways, finally we have the blood eagle death of King Aelle. So King Aelle shows the boys where Ragnar's body is. Well, where he died. They open the pit, Ragnar's body's gone. And everyone's saying, where the fuck's his body? King Aelle is begging, saying, I'll give you all the gold and silver I can give you. And Ivar's like, listen, our father was far more important than any amount of gold and silver. And then Floki literally tells King Aelle, I heard that your god was a carpenter. And so am I. So from there is fucking night is dark as shit. And they literally have King Aelle pretty much thrown on top of a piece of wood. And Floki starts to put nails in both hands, like hammered nails in both hands of King Aelle. And the screaming was satisfying. All the shit King Aelle has done, all the hell he put Ragnar through when he died, it was worth it. Oh my god, I'm telling you guys, I enjoyed every part of this scene. King Aelle's like, oh, mommy, I want my bottle. My bottle of milk. And, Floki's keep on hammering the nails in whatever. So his hands are literally stuck, hammered, to the piece of wood, whatever, leaving his back exposed. Bjorn rips off, Aelle's clothes, and he starts to proceed with the Blood Eagle. He splits the motherfucking back open of King Aelle. Aelle's screaming like a bitch once again, and then Bjorn starts to go to town, and they go to town on his fucking ribs. And Ube is enjoying this. Matter of fact, when the blood splatters on Ube's face, she's like, that felt good. Viksor's laughing at it. Sigurd seems disgusted by it. And Ivar and Floki seems to be some type of trance. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, Ivar gets to the point where she's looking directly at King Aelle's face as Bjorn is going to town on King Aelle's ribs and splitting those motherfuckers. Matter of fact, Bjorn during this scene, he seems like he's crying in a way, in a sense, and he's very emotional. I don't know if it was a combo of his frustration at his father's death or just him being so horrified at this act that he's doing. Because if you remember from season 2, when Ragnar explained the Blood Eagle to Bjorn, Bjorn was horrified by it. It scared the shit out of him. So maybe it was a combination of both. So anyways, Ivar is looking King Aelle in the eyes. King Aelle dies as soon as Bjorn starts to try to put the lungs and ribs and shit on Aelle's back, whatever. He dies damn near halfway through the thing, and was crying like a bitch. So clearly he's not going to Valhalla. So the episode ends with the sons of Ragnar pretty much having Aelle put on high display. He's kind of tied up to the top of one of the trees in the forest, dead, his corpse just there, right next to the apparent place where Ragnar died. And just seeing all the sons avenge their father's death, pretty much making a fucking example out of Aelle, was awesome, epic. Like, once again, I love this scene. And, damn. All I know is this. The next 2 episodes are definitely going to cover Ivar, Bjorn, Viksur, Ube, Sigurd, Floki, and the rest of the Viking army against Aethelwulf, Ecbert, and not just the Wessex army, but also the Mercia army. Because we have to remember that King Ecbert's the king of both Wessex and Mercia at this point. So the next 2 episodes are definitely going to be fucking awesome. It's definitely going to be full of blood, gore, and epicness. So I cannot wait for that fight. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Like the video if you can, subscribe to my channel, rest a comment down below. And this is Josh Vision saying adios.